back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. In today's weather forecast, I will be going through the weather forecast for fast-moving storm systems bringing snow to the northern United States, followed by a major storm system late this week to bring heavy rain and heavy snow across the country, and then an Arctic blast will take hold through the middle of March, as well as a West Coast deluge of rainfall. We'll be going over all the details and much more in this video. But if you guys are not yet subscribed to the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button down below so you get all of my daily weather forecast updates each and every morning at 9 a.m. I cover North America, including Canada, the United States, and the tropics during tropical weather season. So hit the subscribe button down below, everyone. Thanks to all the new subscribers out there. We're getting so close to 25,000 subscribers thanks to you. So again, hit the subscribe button down below. And also, don't forget to press the like button, the thumbs up button. It helps to get all of this weather information out to as many people as possible across YouTube, so I definitely appreciate it. But looking at the temperatures out the door this morning, it's cold. You definitely want to bundle up across the northern plains and the Pacific Northwest and even southern Canada here. Below zero we go this morning, so definitely bundle up across those areas. But farther to the south, we got a little bit more of a spring preview this morning with temperatures in the 50s and 60s down here across the Arklatex and the southern plains. We got the 60-degree lows here in toward the Oklahoma City area, Tulsa, and down to the DFW Metroplex in North Texas. And as we look at the wind chills this morning, it is cold as well up to the north. The North Dakota, we got wind chills down to the single digits below zero. Up here into Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Manitoba, Canada, here in the southern Canadian provinces, we are actually talking about 30 degrees below zero with some of the wind chills here. So again, bundle up, make sure you have plenty of layers on as you go out the door this morning. That is definitely important. But we're also going to be talking about a snow system moving across the northern United States, bringing at least a marginal threat for some accumulating snow. We got winter weather advisories from Montana through the Dakotas here, getting into Minnesota around the Twin Cities region, central, northern Wisconsin, getting across Michigan, including the UP of Michigan, and then over here into central and northern PA into Pennsylvania. That as we go through the next couple of days. So looking at this system here, this is the noon time frame today. We got that light snowfall moving across the north woods of Wisconsin, across the UP of Michigan, and even parts of northern lower Michigan as well. Some rainfall farther to the south across southern lower Michigan here near the Lake Erie and also the Lake Michigan shoreline. That could be providing them with some lighter rainfall at the noon hour here today. That will all propagate farther east, so places into western New York State, including the Buffalo region, getting down into towards northern Pennsylvania, we'll start to see more light to moderate snow bands move in by mid this evening at 9 p.m. But the Pittsburgh area does look to reside on the warm side of this system, so we're going to see more of rainfall from Pittsburgh down into southern and central Ohio today. So it looks like we're going to see more rainfall in those zones. And then by the time we get to noon on Tuesday, March 7th, tomorrow, we have a second system moving through with more light snow across the northern and central Dakotas here. And that could be providing them with a couple more inches of snow going through the day on Tuesday. And then going into Tuesday night, we have more of that snow continuing across portions of the northern plains, including the Dakotas. So looking at the total snowfall accumulation from now through the middle of the week, this is going through Wednesday, March 8th, and you do see at least a few inches of snow flying here and accumulating across especially South Dakota and also southern North Dakota, portions of Montana, Wyoming, and then stretching farther to the east toward the Twin Cities here in Minnesota, northern central Wisconsin, portions of Michigan, including the UP of Michigan, and then parts of the Northeast, especially as you get into western New York State and northern Pennsylvania going through the middle of the week. Generally about a 2 to 4 inch snowfall event in most of these areas. That's why we have those winter weather advisories in place with those National Weather Service offices issuing those earlier on. But you do see that we do have minor to moderate travel inconveniences across those areas. So you do want to take travel slow if you have to head out here early to middle of the week with these snow events moving through. We have one system moving through today, and then the second system moving through on Tuesday into Wednesday across the same areas. So again, take it slow and you will get to your destination safe and sound through the week. But then across the west, we got a trough moving in as we go into today as well. We got another system moving in, and this is going to be the system to to watch going through the week, and this will continue across the west even tomorrow on Tuesday, March 7th. And what this is doing is actually providing the Sierra Nevadas in here, California, and those higher elevations with extremely heavy snowfall over the next couple of days. And that is why they have winter storm warnings all up and down the mountain range here in the Sierra Nevadas and central California. And this is going to be for very heavy snow, not only today, but going through the middle of the week. So see here at noon time frame today, much of the Intermountain West is starting to see that second system move in. That will propagate across the northern plains. But then another system pushes in across the west coast by the noon time frame. And this really continues through this evening, even through the day on Tuesday. You can see a lot of these especially higher elevation areas, especially those ski resorts out west, will definitely benefit from all of this snow through the day tomorrow. And looking at the Pacific Northwest in general, all the way through that Wednesday timeframe, March 8th, this is your total snowfall accumulation, and we're at least seeing some shovelable, even snowblowable snow up here across the higher elevations of Washington, Oregon, Northern California, especially with over a foot of snow in those higher elevations there, and then into places like central, eastern Idaho, getting into much of Montana, Utah, especially around the Salt Lake City area. We could be picking up over 6 inches of snow potentially through the middle of the week, and then moving farther south into the Pacific Southwest, including central California here. That's where we see snowfall over 2 feet in some of the higher elevations there in the Sierra Nevadas, going through the Wednesday, March 8th timeframe. But then this system does start to kick out across the middle of the country late this week on Thursday, March 9th. And then a second system again will start to develop across the Pacific Northwest and move on shore. So we have a double-barreled area of low pressure we'll have to watch going through this upcoming weekend. This is on Saturday, March 11th. That first system, it'll be kicking out across the Northeast, that I-95 corridor, and then down into the Mid-Atlantic. But then that second system will be kicking out across the Pacific Northwest and the Northern Rockies, and that will also move out across the Midwest as well going through this upcoming weekend. So what these systems will do is, starting on Wednesday, March 8th, the middle of this week, we're going to see rainfall farther south where it's warm enough to rain across the central, southern plains and into the Arklatex regions. We may have to watch out for a few stronger thunderstorms here. We'll have to wait and see as we get closer to assess the threat of severe weather. But farther to the north, it's all cold air. So we're seeing snowfall into the Dakotas again, into Minnesota, here, Nebraska, Iowa, and then that will move even farther to the east very slowly on Thursday, a more steady area of snowfall on Thursday, again, across those same zones here into the Dakotas, Minnesota, northern Iowa, and getting into northern portions of Nebraska, where it is all rain and heavy rain at that, farther south. And then that will finally start to move slowly again to the east on Friday, March 10th. Some of the snowfall will be a little bit more steady into eastern Minnesota, much of Wisconsin, getting into Michigan here, especially central and northern lower Michigan and the UP of Michigan, and then all heavy rain from the Ohio Valley all the way down to the central Gulf Coast states and the Carolinas going through that Friday time frame. And then again, as you look back to the west, we got another storm system crashing in on shore that will bring a deluge of rainfall here on Friday across California, western and central portions of Oregon here, and up to western Washington state, and bringing some higher elevation snow again across the Intermountain West and those higher elevations across Montana, the Idaho, back into western Wyoming and northern Utah going through that Friday timeframe. But just in general, looking at late this week, the probability is starting to increase for at least 4-inch or more snowfall accumulation up here across the northern plains and the upper Midwest. At least a 70% chance of that occurring across the eastern Dakotas, getting into northern Iowa and much of central and southern Michigan during that Thursday, Friday timeframe. That moves a little farther to the east on Friday night into Saturday. So places like Wisconsin, Michigan, and even portions of southeastern Canada toward the Toronto region, we'll start to see that move farther to the east their way, with at least the probability of 4 inches or more of snowfall increasing to around 30 to even 50% there. And then even farther east as we go into this upcoming weekend. So now we're talking about Saturday, March 11th through Sunday, March 12th. That will encompass much of the I-95 corridor, northwest and towards upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, into Maine. And this time could be down into portions of northern Pennsylvania and maybe, just maybe, even northern New Jersey as well going into this upcoming weekend. So here's what we know and what we don't know. So what we know about this system is that the winter storm is likely. We're going to have a storm system, and there's also going to be plentiful moisture with the storm system as well. But what we don't know is quite a bit still. We don't know the overall storm track or the intensity of the storm, how strong the storm will get, and we certainly don't know the precipitation amounts here as well, with how much rain we could see, if we're going to see an ice storm with this, or even some snowfall amounts, again, are still up in the air. But we will provide you with that going through the next few days as we have more clarity on the track of the system. But there is one thing for sure, is that there will be heavy rainfall, but the overall track of the system will dictate where that will fall. Currently, this looks to occur across the southern plains and the Arklatex regions, and then stretching over to the Tennessee Valley. A nice swath here of 3 to 5 inches worth of rain is possible to be laid down. Currently is projected here across eastern Oklahoma, north central Arkansas here, southern Missouri, and then over into western Tennessee. So this is places like Memphis here, Little Rock, getting into Fort Smith, Arkansas, and then back to Tulsa here and the Oklahoma City metro area. That goes all the way through this upcoming weekend. And that does raise some concern for flooding. We've had lots of rain with previous systems that have moved through, and we're going to be adding on more rain later this week. So it does look like at least a marginal to slight risk of flash flooding down here across the Arklatex into the southern plains from eastern Oklahoma into Arkansas and western Tennessee during that Wednesday, Thursday timeframe, and then a more widespread zone of a slight risk of flash flooding on Thursday, March 9th through Friday, March 10th here, this time encompassing more of the Music City down here into Nashville and Middle Tennessee, portions of Kentucky, down into southeastern Missouri and through much of Arkansas, northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, and then getting back into northeast Texas, including the Texarkana region, as we get through later on this week. But what is more known is that after we get through this period and towards next weekend, things do turn a lot colder. Now, again, we're in March, so the sun angle's higher. It's not going to be 30 degrees below zero, but we certainly are seeing some colder temperatures than normal down here for the middle of March, going through that March 11th through 15th timeframe. That actually looks to continue even into the third week in March, going all the way through March 19th, with at least slightly below average temperatures being favored across especially the eastern 2/3 of the country. And looking at the temperatures this upcoming weekend on Saturday, March 11th, it's going to be cold up to the north. But like I said, the sun angle's higher, and we're getting into March now, so these colder temperatures are not going to be 30 degrees below zero, but we're still going to be seeing 20s up here into the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, parts of Michigan here, and then again teens for highs up here into southern portions of Canada. But then farther south towards Texas, the Gulf Coast, and the Southeast, including Florida, we're going to be seeing 60s and 70s and even some 80s found down here near the Rio Grande Valley by the time we get into Saturday. That continues into early next week on Monday, March 13th. We start to see more of the colder air filtering in farther south, more widespread 30s all the way down into the Tennessee Valley. And then even as we go into Wednesday, the middle of next week on March 15th, that colder air especially hangs around the northern and northeastern United States, and then suppressing this ridge again farther to the south. So if you want some 70s and 80s, you're going to have to go down into the southern United States, places like Texas, Louisiana here, and even Florida. That is your prime spot for those warmer temperatures. But there is another thing we have to watch out for, and that's the precipitation. It does look very wet, especially across California and the West going through the middle of March. This goes all the way through March 15th, and that looks to occur all the way through at least the third week in March as well across much of the West, and that actually may activate itself farther to the east across the southeastern United States, including Florida, during that March 19th timeframe. So the setup with this goes like this. We have a precipitable water anomaly showing up here across California, getting into Nevada here and Oregon. And this is about 3 to 4 standard deviations above climatology, so we're definitely going to be seeing lots of moisture being pumped in from the eastern Pacific Ocean. That does continue through this weekend into early next week on March 13th, so much of an atmospheric river type of setup going in through this weekend and early next week. And looking at the first system moving in this weekend on Friday the 10th going all the way through Saturday the 11th of March, we definitely are going to be seeing our first round of 2 to 4 inches of rain in coastal California here, and then moving up the west coast through western Oregon and western Washington state with at least an inch or two of rain here Places like Seattle, Portland here, getting down into San Francisco and portions of the Santa Barbara area in towards portions of California. And then the second system early next week will still have another dose of about 1 to 2 inches plus of rainfall getting into that Monday the 13th and Tuesday the 14th of March timeframe. And that will add on to the total. So before we're all said and done, toward the middle of the month on Wednesday the 15th of March, we're definitely talking at least a half foot of rain down here across coastal California, and then maybe at least 2 to 4 inches of rain for Seattle and Portland, Oregon going through the middle of the month. So definitely some flooding concerns with a deluge of rain across these areas, and that is something we'll definitely be keeping an eye on. So to recap my weather forecast for you guys, a fast-moving storm system bringing some snow to the northern United States. It's not going to be a backbreaker, but definitely you probably have to get the shovels out through the next couple of days. A major storm system late this week will bring heavy rain and heavy snow, with the snow up to the north and rain down to the south, with maybe some isolated severe weather. And then an Arctic blast takes shape into the second week in March that will take us probably even into the third week in March as well. And also a West Coast deluge with rainfall and flooding across the West Coast, including California as well, towards the middle of March. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. I definitely appreciate it. If you guys liked the video, press the thumbs up down below. Leave any comments, questions, and concerns below. I'll get to those later on today. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're new, and hit the notification bell to get all of my daily weather forecast updates on this channel. Have a great Monday, everybody. A great start to your work week, and I will see you all in the next video.